Hello, everyone. My name is Monica Harper. I'm the Executive Director of the AACFB, and I am pleased to welcome you to today's webinar, Prioritizing Mental Health. Please note that today's webinar is being recorded, so all participant lines will be muted during the broadcast. However, you can submit a question at any time during today's presentation using the Q&A box, and they will be answered by the end of the webinar. And please reserve the chat for communication between attendees so your questions are easily identified by the presenter in the Q&A box. And if you'd like to raise your hand, you can ask a question verbally, and I will unmute you to speak. You can ask questions throughout this presentation, so you don't have to wait till the end. If something comes up, please go ahead and put your question in or raise your hand. Our presenter today is Krista West with Cahoots Life Coaching. As a seasoned wife and mother of 2 children, Krista has navigated numerous life transitions, including a significant move from outside Denver to a very small rural town in Wyoming. And with over 30 years of experience in social work, group facilitation, community development, Krista has discovered her true passion, which is working with people. Her extensive background has naturally led her to becoming a certified life coach, working with individuals and companies. And whether facing a major life decision, looking for a reignited career or marriage, simply seeking clarity, Krista is equipped with sound best practices for the years of experience to guide her clients. And at this time, I'd like to thank Krista for her joining us and sharing her expertise, and it is all yours.
Hey, awesome. Thank you so much, Monica. I'm really excited to be here, and I appreciate everybody that can take a part of the middle of your day to be here. So again, thanks so much. So mental health and entrepreneurs, that's really what we're looking at talking about today, and seeing how is it that the two of them affect each other and what can we do about it, right? So mental health, it's really about just getting through the day. I know we can talk definitions, talking about the stresses of life, the stresses of work, being able to contribute in our communities, and just an overall well-being of how we feel. We're in balance. We're getting to do everything that we want to do, whether that's our families, our jobs, maybe that's our exercise, maybe it's our spiritual. But that's the balance. Our relationships are healthy, right? There's no tension. We're able to communicate. There's some good, healthy give and take going on in our relationships. Again, whether that's relationships with your kids, with your marriage, in your workplace, with your peers. Maybe it's with the people that you are brokering with or dealing with on a day-to-day basis in your job. Okay. The other part of that mental health is just being able to get your stuff done. It's really easy to say, I've got to get stuff done today at work. But there's a huge disconnect sometimes when we say what we got to do versus what we really end up doing. Are we going around in circles and circles and circles trying to figure out, gosh, I don't remember what I was doing. I don't remember where I'm supposed to be at. I'm just irritated with everything, or maybe I am just so zoned out that I don't even recognize I've been staring at my screen all day and I've got nothing done. Okay. But then the personal growth, right? That's part of that whole balance thing. It's keeping up on stats. It's keeping up on what's trending, especially within your job. It's keeping up on, the latest recipes or the newest health kicks or whatever it is that we can continue growing. Maybe it's finding that book, right? So this is this is what we're dealing with when we are out of line, when we're not in sync, when we're just going through the day thinking, I don't even know what's wrong. I don't know what's wrong. Okay. What's happening though is that we've been telling ourselves for a while now, you know what? It's just that I'm getting older. I know I've been having these headaches. Gosh, my back is stiff, my hips are stiff, my knees are stiff. I just feel achy. Of course, I'm not sleeping because I'm working, and work is such a priority. And if I'm not sleeping, I'm not getting energy. So it's just because I'm getting older, or this is the way it's always been. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, of people that were working on their own. This is what you've got to do to get ahead. You kind of live and breathe it. There's no balance for anything outside of what your job is. What ends up happening though is we become very irritable, and we start, holding grudges to other people. But again, that's just how things are. You just got to get over it, and you've got to work with me if you want to be successful. Okay. Those are lies. We tell ourselves that, but it doesn't have to be that way. So this is just a quick spot. Like if you've thought of anything as we've just been talking, and I know it's brief, but it's just a minute just to kind of write down a couple things. What are you good at? Of course you've got great skill doing the jobs that you're doing, and being able to get out in the front of things and be aggressive and be able to work on your own. I mean, those are wonderful skills. But what are those strengths, right? And then what are some things that you would like to kind of change up about yourselves or improve on? I think we've all got a couple little things that we can do. And then if we did that, is that going to affect our lives? Will that affect my job performance? Will it affect how I walk in at the end of the night and greet my partner? How is that all going to affect? Okay. So just a minute, to kind of think of that and write that down. We won't be sharing it. So this is all for you. Okay. So in the clinical world, you've got your diagnoses. So the DSM-5 is the diagnostic criteria for mental health. And what it does is it tells us exactly what the symptoms are. And if those symptoms are in place, then it's very possible that you are dealing with a mental illness. Okay. Mental health and mental illness, two different things, right? Mental health, as we kind of stated, is like an overall feeling. It's an overall getting productive. It's I've got a couple things here and there I want to work on, but overall I'm handling, right? But say you've got some anxiety. I think it's a term that gets loosely associated with a lot of things. Oh, I'm just anxious, or they're so full of anxiety. Okay, but what is anxiety, right? So anxiety is if you've got 3 symptoms of the following 6. Okay, and they've got to be something that is happening more than it's not happening, and within the last 6 months. Okay, so maybe you're feeling restless. You just can't sit still. You're up and down. You're up and down. I know that there's something that I got to do, and you're just moving, right? Okay, so you're just really restless or keyed up. There's just things on your mind. You can't get your mind to shut down. It's just going and going and going, and it's going with all these scenarios, these ruminating thoughts. You're easily fatigued. Well, of course. I mean, especially if we spend all this time with these symptoms, we're not getting our sleep, and we're not taking care of ourselves. Difficulty concentrating. Again, that's just kind of your brain trying to protect itself because it's like on overload. And so what is happening is through our vagus nerve that goes down the center of our back, this is where it all comes together and says, okay, dude, I'm going to protect you because you're not dealing right. So we're gonna kind of blank out. We're going to zone out. Maybe people see you like in a meeting, and they're like, come on, get with us. Are you focused? What are we doing? Where are you at? Okay. So that's some of the anxiety. Another one that's not written here is the becoming really irritable. Okay. but that's also with that difficulty sleeping and being fatigued. You're just kind of like just short tempered, like, just back up, right? Depression again is, I think, highly overused. There's depressed feelings, okay? And we've all had those depressed feelings in our lives, and it may happen more often than not, depending on seasons or environmental factors or situations, right? But if we're dealing with a clinical depression, then we're dealing with having 5 or more of these symptoms in the same 2-week period, and it's been going on for a period of time. Okay. One is either a loss of mood or a loss of interest. Okay. So I just don't feel anything. I'm completely out of it. I am tearful all the time. That sort of thing. Okay. That's when our mood is just really down. Our lack of interest is, gosh, I haven't played golf in a year now. I haven't sat down and read a good book in months. And I used to love to cook, but I haven't tried a new recipe in over a year. Okay. That's what we're talking about with the loss of interest. The things that you used to enjoy that you no longer have enjoyed. Significant weight loss or weight gain, whether it's comfort eating or whether it's we just have no interest in food, we don't care to eat. The ability to get up and find food or make food is just so overwhelming and so exhausting. I'm not going to do it. Okay. Slowing down of your thoughts. Oftentimes this is where other people will see this, not so much as you, but you're kind of like zombied, and if somebody's asking you what your thoughts are or your feelings, you're just really slow on the get-go, and they see it, but you don't. Okay. And so sometimes it's when other people point that out to us that we realize, oh, maybe there is something going on. Fatigue, loss of energy. Again, maybe you've sat in the exact same chair all day long, have gotten nothing done. You should get something done, but to move it's really out there. Okay. So there's that. The worthlessness, inappropriate guilt. This is beyond, I'm not good at this. This is the, gosh, I have let everybody down. And I take full responsibility for everything, and I am absolutely no good. And I really don't see where I'm going to be able to get out of this. Okay. That when it goes to that excess, right? Not being able to think or concentrate, again, you're just kind of zoning out. Your body's trying to protect you, but you're just zoning out. And then the thoughts of death, suicide, whether it's an ideation or whether you have a plan, 2 different things. Ideation is, gosh, what would it be like if I weren't here? A plan is, I have a plan on to not be here. But there's another type, and this isn't always talked about, and that's the one that is about, I'd really like just to get in the car and drive and escape, and I don't know where I'd go, and I don't know if I'd come back, but I just need to get out. And that's just another way of that escape, that suicide ideation. Okay. A couple other things that are predominant in entrepreneurs is ADHD. It used to be ADD and ADHD were 2 different things, right? Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and attention deficit disorder. Okay. They've now put them on the same spectrum. And so it's just kind of like where you fit in that degree. This can be a superpower, but it can also be kind of a ball and chain. Okay. So when we're dealing predominantly with inattentive, so the ADD, when we just can't focus. I mean, can't even get through a movie or can't even get through a 60-minute show or be able to read an article without going, oh gosh, I forgot what the first part was, and having to reread it again. Okay. This is when you've got adult, and I'm talking adult ADD, this is what we're talking about, kind of a lack of attention to detail. Maybe you're seeing this in work where you're getting stuff done and you think everything's great, you're getting it through, and then somebody's popping up and saying, these numbers don't ring true, or that's not true, that's not what we talked about, this is the new deadline. Okay. It's when we don't have that detail. Maybe it's just having a hard time focusing. Again, to be able to sit down and focus on one thing for 15 minutes, 30 minutes is very, very difficult for you. Okay. That could mean sitting in a meeting, right? Or sitting with a client in front of you and kind of zoning out as they're talking because you've got all these other ideas. Failing to complete tasks. Well, we can see this in a number of things. And that's like, okay, I started doing this, but then I got sidetracked by this. And so as I was going over here to make copies, I ended up seeing that I forgot to eat lunch. And then I've got to empty the dishwasher real quick. And now I didn't even know what I was doing, but get back to my work. Well, we never got those copies made. Okay. So this is happening both, whether it's in our personal lives or in our work life, but that's how it affects adults. Okay. You're always losing your keys, right? And you never remember where you put anything. Again, that's what it is. Poor organization skills. That's kind of the same kind of thing. Avoiding tasks. Oh, it's just going to take too long. I can't sit down and read this workbook that they want me to review because it's going to take more than a couple hours, and it's just I don't have time for that. Being distracted, forgetful. Okay, so that's kind of your inattentive ADHD. Now the one where the hyperactive, impulsive, again, this is the same thing. If you've got about 5 of these, this is probably what you've got. There's a lot of us in this generation that have had a lot of undiagnosed ADD or ADHD, but just that impulsive, needing to move, needing to do something right away. We can't sit down. Gosh, we always want to complete other people's sentences. We've got a thought. We don't even raise our hand anymore. We're just interjecting, and we're putting stuff out there, and we're talking really fast, and we're not checking in with people. And it's just like this ongoing thing, right? Well, we can see how that might not be super effective in the business world, in building relationships with people, in work or with our families. It's that person, that's, constantly doing this or constantly bouncing, or they're fidgeting with their paper. And this could be super distracting for people. And you might not even recognize that you're doing it. Talking excessively, having a hard time waiting your turn, right? Yeah. Okay. So some of those things can be great, right? If you can harness it, it can really work for you. But if you can't, this is kind of where we're at, right? Like, I don't know what I was doing. I don't know where I'm at. I know it's important though. But it's frustrating. Okay. So according to Forbes, when looking up for the recent stats on how entrepreneurs are affected with mental health, okay, not mental illness per se, mental health, it affects 72% of entrepreneurs, whether it's indirectly or directly. So the way I like to see that is it can be affecting me, or maybe it's affecting the people I manage. Okay. Maybe they're the ones having a hard time and I haven't given enough grace to help them accommodate for what they need to be more productive. Maybe it's me. And, if I can get on top of it, I can be more effective, be more productive, make more money, make more relationships, or just be more content and be more at peace, whatever your value is, right? Because we all have different personal values, but whatever that value is. So in this one, it's showing us that depression is about 1 in 3 people. Okay. ADHD is just a little bit less than that, at about 27-28% of people that are affected with it at some level. Again, maybe it's just identifying that your partner is that person. So how can you effectively communicate with them to be more efficient, and what tools can you use to help them, to help you? Substance use, it's a thing. It's not as big as some people probably imagine it to be. But I do think that there's a lot of coping that goes on in whichever form that is. I mean, it could be shopping, right? It doesn't always have to be alcohol, and it doesn't have to be drugs, and it doesn't have to be smoking. It can be a number of things that we're using to cope. And then bipolar. And the fact that this popped up, I thought was interesting. But, when you're in a hyper state, you can get a lot of stuff done, and everything seems real super clear until it's not. Okay. And it's when it's not that makes it really difficult. Okay. And I just want to remind, if anybody has any questions as we're going through, I know Monica can read those, okay, and she'll let us know. And I'll have time here at the end too for questions and answers. Okay. So, it's really about looking at some of those. I know I was bringing up that they were clinical, but what if we have just a little of this or a little of that? Or maybe it's just that our medical situation, okay? Maybe it's my chemical, I'm off, or my diet is bad, or I've got an allergic reaction to something, or maybe it's a thyroid, or maybe it's diabetes, okay? If it's any of that stuff, you're not clinical, but you might still have some of these other behaviors, right? And these other symptoms that still don't work for you. So what we need to do is just get it in balance, get it in check. Okay, so I'm not spending a lot of time here, but that list that you had written down, your strengths and the things that you wanted to maybe improve. Maybe after I've introduced some of those other things, you might say, okay, yeah, I'll add this to my list. This is a good time to do that, just to kind of reevaluate that. Okay. So I think it's really, really fascinating that there are going to be books, and there's going to be, you're going to Google it, and there's going to be all this self-help out there, and they're all going to tell you, just get some rest, eat well, maybe do some meditation, just get some exercise in. How about some deep breathing, or just get grounded, or maybe try doing some time blocking. Like, okay, it's things we've all heard before, and there's a reason we're not doing it. Okay. Of course, that's where my job comes in, and that's how I kind of help people navigate that process. But there's a reason we're not doing it. And that's for, maybe it doesn't work, or maybe we just don't get it, or the thought of meditation scares the crap out of me. I mean, what does that mean? I mean, I can't sit there and do this, and I don't know what I don't know, but because of that, it makes me very nervous and apprehensive. And so I just don't do it. Okay. But we probably do some things already that we've put in place that take care of ourselves. Okay. So you might have some of that already. Maybe you go to the gym. Maybe you cook dinner with your partner. Maybe you take Sundays off and you go to church and you read through, a good book. Okay. These are some of the things that maybe you already have in place. Time blocking is kind of a nice way, though, of being able to see where all of your time is currently being spent. And what I mean by that is, it's kind of a new trending thing right now. Well, I don't know about new, but you've got your calendar, and on your calendar you say, okay, from 8 to 10, this is my high thinking time. So this is where I'm going to do most of my productive work. Middle of the day, I'm getting a little tired, but this is when I have my meetings, and so they're all kind of color coded, and it's not saying this meeting on this day. It's just, this is my meeting times. These are when I make my phone calls, answer my emails. This is when I do my high power thinking. Okay. The problem with that is nowhere in there did I make time for myself. You know, where is lunch? Where is, that 5 minutes of just kind of sitting and doing a stretch and doing some deep breaths? Where is that I'm going to be home by 7 o'clock at night, every night for sure. And I'm going to be in bed by 11 o'clock. And I'm going to do these things. We tend not to block that time out. And maybe we need to. Again, this is just kind of that thought, just kind of checking in, going, if you were to block out some time, what does yours look like, and what changes would you make? And I know this takes more than just a minute, but it's definitely worth something thinking about. So here's some strategies. Okay, here's one strategy, and it's breath work. There's a lot of strategies out there on how to breathe. But this one is the 4-7-8. So it's when you're sitting there and you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Okay, but you're breathing in to the count of 4, and you're holding it for 7, and you're breathing out for 8. Okay, if you can do this a few times, maybe it's in the car on the way to a meeting. Maybe it's in the car on the way home. Maybe it's when you go to bed at night and you're just laying there and you just need to relax your body. Maybe it's before or after that difficult phone call. Okay, people don't know that you're doing these deep breaths. You're just doing it. Because if you don't, what happens is, again, our vagus nerve goes right down the middle of our spine. If we don't take care of this, it's all going to get stuck right in the center. Okay, and now my chest feels tight. I feel like there's something sitting on it. My gut is just kind of turning. I feel a little nauseous. That's because it's affecting you. It's affecting your body and how you feel. But if we can process it and if we can let it out, it's going to help. But here's the little tricky thing. Breath work, we've been doing it. Our body wants to do this. We're little kids, right? And our parents are telling us, you've got, go clean your room, or you're grounded. And they huff and they puff, and we're like, oh, don't you be huffing at me. Well, actually what they're doing is they're trying to regulate their emotion. They don't know it, but that's exactly what they're doing. Just regulate. So our body wants to do this. We do it all of the time without even thinking about it. So what if we put some thought into it, we put some intention into it, and make it really count, right? We don't want to be in that fight or flight mode all the time. We want to be able to be like, okay, I need to get out of this so I can be logical. Okay, and that's what this is. However, right as I've written down here, none of this, that's just going to create more anxiety. Okay, these are the long, deep breaths. Okay, and again, there's lots of different ways of doing it, but that's some of it. Another one I thought was creative was, drinking tea, hot tea. You're going to drink it, and then you drink it, and then you let it out. We're doing it. Okay, we can find ways to do this. And just recognizing that sometimes our body is asking for it. Okay. Another thing is called grounding. And, there's a lot of conversation about, I just need to get grounded. It's like taking your shoes off and walking through the grass, going out on the beach. That's part of it. Okay. That's part of it. Just connecting right to earth and connecting to that power. And maybe it's the carpet. Maybe it's just the wood floors. Whatever it is, it's a connection. Okay. But there's more to grounding. So I've been able to talk people off of ledges, not literal ledges, but I just lost the word, the hyperventilating by grounding. Okay. And so a common run right now, and there's a few takes off of this, but it's the 5-4-3-2-1. Some people do it in a 3-3-3. Okay, but what it really is saying is, okay, you're in this panic mode. You can't even think logical because you're just going all over the place. You're wanting to cry, you're wanting to scream, you want to pull your hair out, you want to shut down. Whichever it is, you're in panic mode. Okay, so this is helpful if somebody can help you, but until you get used to it, and then you can start doing it yourself. But it's recognizing what's around you. Okay. Maybe you're panicked and you're sitting in your car. And so you're looking around and you're like, okay, I see a stoplight. I see my purse on the floor. I see a red car. I see 2 people walking a dog. Okay. That's what we see. What can we hear? I hear the air conditioner. I can hear a siren in the background. I can hear some birds. I can hear me clicking my nails. Okay. What can you feel? Well, I can feel the steering wheel. I can feel the bottle of water. I can feel sitting in my seat. I can feel the heat around me. Or the cold air hitting my face. What can you smell? I can smell the coffee that is still sitting in my car from this morning. I can smell the lilacs outside, right? Whatever it is, I can smell gas. And things you can taste. Okay, maybe I taste nothing. Maybe that's all it is. Here's the thing. People can take this and use it however best it works for them, whether it's a 5-4-3-2 or a 5-4-3. The whole point of this exercise is to get out of your emotional, get into your logic, and see what's real. What's real in front of me is my car, the streetlights, the people walking the dog, the smells, the feel. That's real. And until you get out of your emotional roller coaster, you're not going to be able to think logical. You're just not. Your brain's taken over. So maybe it's taking your shoes off and going for a walk in the grass. Okay. But it's being intentful and seeing things that are around you. That is what's getting grounded. Sometimes, meditate. I don't know why, but this was one of those things that just really made me very nervous. And as I learned about it, I think we do a lot of meditation in our world already. Again, we don't even know that we're doing it. If you're like in a prayer group, or maybe you listen to music, you put your headphones on and you're just listening to certain kinds of music that just make you feel like you're really involved. Maybe it's sitting down and coloring mandalas. Maybe those those little diamond paintings, or maybe it's a paint by number. Whatever it is, you have taken all of the negative thoughts and pushed them out of your head, and you're not allowing them in your head anymore. The only thing that's in your head is what you allow to be in your head. So if we're in prayer mode, that's exactly what's going on. If we're listening to a beat, that's exactly what's going on. If we are laying there in bed in the morning, at night, and we repeat a mantra, okay, maybe it's, I'm going to kill it today. I've got this. I know I'm capable. And you just keep repeating that over and over again. And then something comes in that says, no, you're not. You're like, nope, not going there. And you keep repeating. Okay. This is meditation. Reading and reflecting, you know, that's just reading for comprehension. It's not just mindlessly, right? It's being focused, being intentional. All of this is meditation. The part about scanning your body, this is kind of a cool one too, you know, and it's sometimes you see it in yoga and some other ways, but again, maybe you're laying down and you tighten up your body, or you stretch your body as high or as taut as it can be. And then you just relax it. And you start from your toes to your knees. And you just feel your toes sink into the bed, sink into the sand, sink into the mat. And then your legs sink in. And then your butt sinks in. And now it's my fingers, and they're sinking in. Oh my gosh, I just felt my stomach go in, right? And you're doing this whole thing, and you can even, after you thought you relaxed, you're not. And then you relax one more time, and your shoulders, you know, aren't up at your ears anymore. Okay, that's meditation as well, which is also a great way to get to sleep, especially if you have a hard time and you're super tense at night. It's a great way to get to sleep. So speaking of sleep, sleep hygiene. So we talk about getting good sleep. Oh, just get to bed, get to sleep early. Well, sometimes that's easier said than done, especially with so many of you that have this ability to have your minds going 24/7 nonstop. It's really hard to shut it down. Okay. And so that sleep hygiene is about what is the routine that gets you ready for sleep. Maybe it's turning off the TV an hour early. Maybe it's watching TV. Maybe it's journaling some. Maybe it's listening to a podcast. Maybe it's just organizing for the next day. Okay, whatever that is. Does that mean we're taking our phone out of our bedroom and putting it into the office or to the kitchen? Sometimes we've got to do that too, right? Because some people like to be on their phones even when they get into bed. That sleep hygiene is going to be different for everybody. Again, that's kind of where people like myself it's really nice to be able to kind of explore some of those options on what's best going to work. Because we can say, yeah, we're going to do this. But if we're not buying into it, and if it doesn't fit our value or our way of doing things, we're setting ourselves up to fail. Right? So it's finding those ways it's going to work for you. Okay. So, so kind of what we're looking at is mental health is everywhere. It's not a scary thing because we all deal with it, or we're all affected by it in some way, shape, or form. But it's being aware of it so that we can fit our personal needs, so that those values that we hold so close to us, we can address that. You know, if we find that value of family, that value of personal health, that value of connecting with God is not being met, then what do we need to do so we can get back to that? Because that's important, right? That balance. So sometimes people think I can just do it myself. I'm just going to make some changes. Okay. And that works for some people. Some people are gifted that way, and they're just kind of like superheroes. However, there's a lot of us that could use some help. Okay. An accountability partner is one. Maybe that's a peer worker. Maybe it's your partner. Maybe it's an app, whatever that accountability person is. Maybe it's your mom or your dad or your brother or your sister. Okay. Maybe it's a dog. Dogs are great with saying it's time to get out and go for a walk, right? Writing things down. I know you guys have all heard this, but it's so true. You write it down, you write down your goals, and it's crazy, but things start happening, doors start opening, and you look back at it later and you'd be like, oh my gosh, it happened. Okay, start writing it down. Maybe it's writing it down to journal. Again, when you've got all those things just going in your head 24/7, get it out, just bleh, put it on paper. It doesn't mean it doesn't have to be legible, right? Legible. It doesn't even have to be words. Maybe your journaling is doodling. Maybe it's pictures. Maybe it's just putting words all over a piece of paper because that's all you've got in your head, right? Maybe it's having some deep thought, not a dear journal, this is where I did today, but more of the deep thought, like, am I really meeting the potential I want to meet? Is there something I want to change or do? Okay. Personal coach, consultant, therapist, we're all out there. They're all out there. And there's all different kinds. Not one is going to be a match for everybody, but that's kind of the beauty of it, right? Is finding the people that you match with. Sometimes if it is more of a clinical thing, go to your doctor. Again, it's just an imbalance maybe that's going on in your head that you just need to balance. And that's all it is. Maybe, again, like I said earlier, it's diabetes, thyroids. It can be a number of things. Gluten, whatever it is, figure it out. Okay. Maybe that's all you got to do. But there's apps out there, and there's some great stuff out there, especially for people that are on that spectrum of ADD, ADHD, some really creative ways of helping you focus. I've listened to some podcasts of some of these folks, and they have found what their weakness is, and they have found a solution for that. Okay. So again, it's just being aware of that. But there are apps out there that can totally help you get that grounding, get that focus. Because eventually, this is like life goal right here, right? That we can have the job that we love around being surrounded by the people that we love and just killing it day after day after day, because our ducks are in a row. We've got everything balanced out. This is what we want to do. I was going through the internet and I found this little list here, and I thought this was just perfect for today. And it's this little man that wrote down his to-do list. And so he gave it to his grandma, and he said, this is my to-do list. And number 1 was to be weird. 2 is to play with dad. 3 then is to pet cash, feed cash, let cash out. Next, he's going to do some reading. He's also going to play Loud Librarian, which is an online game. He's going to order a game, but then he's going to be helpful for dad. So dad walks in again. This is one of the ones I loved. He says to be content. So one of his to-dos is to be content. He's going to learn, and then he's going to go to Goodwill. But I love that even at a young age, this guy knows what's important to him, have fun, be connected to family, be a little bit weird. but also be content, right? And to keep learning and reading. So I am open for questions and answers. Let's see what our time. I don't even know.
Got a good 15 minutes. And just as a reminder, you can type your questions in the Q&A box, or you can raise your hand and I will unmute you to speak, because I know sometimes these types of conversations might be easier to have verbally. I had a question though. You see a lot of where it says work-life balance, and I wonder sometimes if that is something that we think we should have, but sometimes it's just not feasible. It's not realistic. And for instance, I have a conference coming up in 2 weeks. So I'm working a lot, more so than, a normal week. I have 4 teenage kids, and they need this and that. I have an elderly father. I'm in that sandwich generation where I'm taking care of my parents, and it just gets to be like, can I really balance all of this, or do I just need to be honest with everybody and say, look, I'm going to be focusing on a lot of work for the next 3 weeks, and you might feel neglected, and I may not be my best self for you over the next 3 weeks, but then I'm going to circle back. Is that what we're talking about with balance? Is it trying to do everything at once, or is it managing expectations, I guess?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, and yeah, that balance does incorporate some boundaries. And sometimes you do have to say, okay, I am super focused on this right now. So I can help you out this much, but I've got to do this other thing. But know that when I'm done with this, I'll be able to help out some more. So those boundaries, and then, yeah, setting those expectations for ourselves. There's not 25 hours in a day. And so it's being very, very real with what we think we can get done in one day. This is something I have fought with a lot. And that's just saying, okay, no, I can't do all of this. So what's important to me? What are my values, and what does that line up with? Okay. And even if it's a 5-minute, even if it's, I don't have time for a lot of things, but I want to check in with mom, or I listen to a podcast, say on my way home from work. There are ways that we can put in the things that are important to us without having to readjust. I mean, there's still a job and there's still money and we still have to make a living. I totally get that. But maybe it's maybe it is going outside and walking around the block for a bit. Maybe it's just recognizing I have a need to eat healthier, or I have a need to check in with my family. Maybe it's sending a text to your partner just to say, I'm thinking about you. Sometimes it's the little things and it doesn't have to take a lot of time. But Monica, you're spot on with setting boundaries and having realistic expectations, because otherwise, again, we're just setting ourselves up to fail. So I think there are times that it's a push to get things done. But in our day-to-day, right? In the rest of the month, the other 3 weeks, we can be like, no, I feel like I've got a little this and that, and I'm feeling good about it. Yeah.
Not seeing any other questions, but did you I think you had your contact information up there if somebody wanted to reach out with a question. I know sometimes it's difficult for people to, they don't want to pour their heart out public forum.
Oh, totally. And yeah, that's kind of why I kind of kept things to just kind of more of an introspective, but yeah, I've got, I probably got rid of that already.
And I know you and I were talking about, the fact that, my company now is working hybrid, partially remote, partially in an office. And a lot of our members, they might be working from home or in a, not in an office full of people. And I think there are unique challenges. Sometimes it's good because you don't have people interrupting you, just walking over, interrupting you. But other times you kind of crave that human connection as well. So I think, especially for entrepreneurs and a lot of our members who are working, remotely in an office, it can be kind of isolating. And, we're saying offline that it helps to have another voice in the room, when you're trying to work out a problem, or even in my case, I said I tend to overthink things sometimes, and it's helped to have a sounding board to say like, am I right on this, or am I overthinking it and I need to let it go? Because that can affect your mental health too.
Working from home is not as easy as some people say it is. It can be really tough, and that's again where having that balance is so imperative. It's so imperative. So yeah, here's the thing. I know that it's hard to come up with questions and just put it out there. But I will be down in New Orleans actually with you guys. So I'll be kind of a +1 down there, and so if you see me down there, or if you want to text me and we can set up a time to meet, I would love to just kind of explain to you how some things work or answer some questions. I am probably one of the most flexible people, and I am totally open to meeting up with anybody who has questions. I've got my website there. I've got an email there, and the text or call. If I don't answer, it's because I'm with a client, but I will definitely get back to you. And I would love to answer any questions. It'd be perfect, because there's so much more to this, right? Having an hour just to kind of talk about this is just kind of that iceberg, right? With everything else underneath the water. There's so much to this. And Monica, I think you touched on some of that, with entrepreneurs, and so many people in your business that work from home or work for themselves, or work in small offices. You do feel isolated sometimes, and going to these conferences sometimes is your only way to connect with people. So fortunately, I get to go down with my husband, so I take those opportunities to meet lots of fun people. So yes. I do enjoy it, and I would love to sit down with somebody while I'm down there too.
AACFB events are good for your mental health. That's what I'm hearing.
They are. Yeah.
Well, I don't see any questions. So at this time, we will wrap things up. I want to say thank you for sharing your time and expertise today. And we are recording this, so it will be on the AACFB members only section of the website. So if anybody wants to go back and watch it at a later time or share it with another member, they are free to do so. And we'll see you in a few weeks. And thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Monica. Thanks for having me. Take care.
You too.